Well, it just seems so obvious, Sean. I mean, it's an obvious story for one, but it's also clearly outrageous. Why the lack of curiosity by the media in the US? Are they just a mouthpiece for the Democratic Party and that's the way it is? Or do they not think it's a problem that people are pouring over the border?
I think it's more of the latter. They actually, I think, agree with this. They sort of don't want a southern border. They believe in an open borders policy, despite the vast majority of the American people supporting President Trump on this issue. So I don't think they're covering it because they don't want to. They clearly, look, they'll cover everything the president says when it comes to deporting people in this country illegally. But when it comes to President Biden and his policy of not obeying the law and now selling off something that the American taxpayer has already paid for, not a peep.
It's just extraordinary. Hey, a lot of people have commented just on another topic that really I find just shocking. People have commented on the way in which the left have fawned over Luigi Mangione, the alleged killer of a health insurance CEO. I want to play you Trump's take on this and ask you about the culture in the United States at the moment. Here's Trump.
I think it's a terrible thing. I think it's really terrible that some people seem to admire him, like him. And I was happy to see that it wasn't specific to this gentleman that was killed. It's just an overall sickness as opposed to a specific sickness. That was a terrible thing. It was cold-blooded, just a cold-blooded, horrible killing. And how people can like this guy is, that's a sickness, actually.
Sean, I listened to that and I thought Trump's onto something here. The cheering for a murderer is not just an aberration. It's a symptom of a deeper, he called it a sickness that seems to be spreading and sadly to say, not just in the United States, but in the Western world.
Yeah, and you referred to this at the beginning, James, but there are Democratic senators in the United States who are trying to explain this away. Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts saying, well, when you push somebody that far, you got to expect these kind of things. No, you don't ever have to accept these things. You never, ever explain away cold-blooded killing, as President Trump noted. This is not, we should never normalize this. The idea that this man shot a husband, a father, a fellow human being in cold blood on the streets of Midtown Manhattan is not something we should be explaining away or admiring or attempting to idolize. It's disgusting what the left is doing, and it explains a lot about who they are at their core.
Yeah, sadly, it really does. Hey, before I let you go, I want to know what you thought of Joe Biden's comments overnight that Kamala Harris will remain a major player in US politics despite her humiliating defeat. Here's what Biden had to say.
I knew what I was doing, asked her to be my vice president. I knew her. I knew of her. I knew about her. I knew her record. I trusted her. She always served this country with purpose and integrity, and she always will. And you're not going anywhere, kid, because we're not going to let you go. Not going anywhere.
Seriously, is the Democratic cupboard really that bare, Sean, that Kamala Harris could she possibly run again in 2028? Surely not.
Well, as a Republican, I'm cheering her on. I'd love to see her make another comeback at it between 2019 and this time around. Listen, I'd love her back on the stage. But honestly, that says a lot about the state of the Democratic Party if she's going to be their standard bearer. Look, she failed fundamentally with key constituencies within the Democratic Party. She spent billions of dollars and is in debt. It was unbelievable. She bought friends. She paid Beyonce and these other folks to come out and support her. This literally is laughable. And the idea that you are not, as a Democrat, embarrassed about the campaign that she ran, the money that she wasted, says a lot about the Democratic Party today. If I were them, I would ask her to go to California and never come back.
You know, I reckon that just as you're excited that she could be the next candidate, I reckon J.D. Vance would love her to be the Democratic candidate as well, would guarantee he'll succeed Trump. Hey, thanks for your time tonight, Sean. Always a pleasure to speak to you.
Always a pleasure, James. Merry Christmas if I don't see you again.